All right, this week's episode is coming hot off the heels of all the feedback I got from last week's episode. And in case you missed that, head on back to last week's episode because this is part two. And unlike any movie series that you see nowadays, you need to listen to part one before understanding what I'm talking about here in part two. And also, if you haven't, make sure you check out the package sales training that I put together that really ties in last week's episode on how to sell packages to this week's episode on selling continuity and all the things that you need to do in order to sell packages. That training includes Canva templates on how to create your package sheet, how to set up payment plans for your packages, and a ton more. You can find that link in the show notes. Make sure you download it. Anyways, I digress here. Today, what we're going to be talking about in today's podcast is all about continuity. Because if you can't sell packages, it doesn't matter how good your marketing is. But if you can't sell continuity, then you're never going to get to the 10x plus ROI on your marketing like you hear from some other clinics. And you might start to think that your marketing doesn't work for you. And it could be because you are not selling packages correctly and you're not selling continuity correctly. So the reason you need to listen to part one first is because if you're not good at selling packages, then you're definitely not going to be good at selling continuity. And if you don't sell people into packages, it's borderline impossible to actually sell people into continuity. And, I think continuity is one of the most important things that you can do for your clinic. Nailing continuity is one of the things that we did best at Ripple. The team that I had in place was absolute killer at getting people to continue to work with us. Certainly took some trials and tribulations on how to structure it, what was the frequency, how are we selling it, but we finally found the secret sauce to getting 50% of people in the initial package, so new patients, to buy into continuity. But first, what the hell is continuity? We should probably start there. I think the easiest way to describe continuity is when a new patient goes through their initial plan of care and then they buy into another plan of care after that or another package after that. I think that's a very, very simple way to frame it. This is something that you need to be tracking, and this is something that really needs to be a focus and a main KPI driver that you're looking at for your business. And, it really is the number one driver of increasing LTV, which is the lifetime value of patients. If people are coming in and only buying one package, obviously their LTV is going to be less. If they come in and buy one package, then they buy another package with you and they're on this ongoing continuity plan. We'll talk about how to structure it upcoming in the episode here. But if you want your LTV to be as high as possible, which means your marketing ROI is going to be the greatest multiple possible, then you need to be selling continuity, because you can raise your rates all of you want, but if you don't do a good job of selling continuity, your LTV will never be as high as it can be. So today, what I want to do is I want to dive into specific aspects of continuity and how you can set it up to be successful. The first thing that I want to talk about here is how you should be setting this up. I get questions like this all of the time. This is why this is sparking me putting all of this package content together, is because this is the main question that I get is, how do I create my offer? If we're getting all of these leads from all the marketing that we're doing, how do I increase my ROI? How do I sell people into packages? How do I increase my LTV? So this stuff is super important to marketing. So, I think what a lot of people did, and this is what I first did when I first started, when I went self-employed and I started Ripple, and I'm sure if you're a clinic owner and a founder, this is probably how you did it as well, because it worked for you, because people just wanted to continue working with you. But what your continuity offer is it's got to be much more dialed in than just like selling another 10 pack of sessions. There's really got to be like a why behind it and a reason why, and an actual another plan of care behind why somebody's going to purchase something moving forward. So again, if somebody, they finish their first 10 pack of sessions and you're just like, hey, I'm having fun, like this is great, you could buy another 10 sessions if you want to. That's going to be really hard to sell, especially for your staff PTs as you grow, because they don't have that founder clinic owner effect that you might have, where people are going to still want to continue working with you. So what you can do instead is, after somebody finishes that first 10 pack of sessions, you start to lay out like what do the next 3 months look like, and what next plan of care are you selling them into? Maybe they're training for a marathon. Maybe summer's coming up and they're going to be doing a bunch of hiking. Maybe they're going to be running. Maybe, their kids are in a soccer league and you're trying to stay on par with them, whatever it might be. How do you pre-frame what this next plan of care is going to look like? Because they're probably going to be out of pain within that first package, right? But if the overall goal is to really change these people's lives, do a little bit of prehab, make sure they're on a maintenance program where they can continue to come in and they can get a little bit of manual therapy done, maybe some dry needling, maybe get into the gym and do some exercise. Actually outlining what this plan of care is going to look like is going to really help you sell this thing. And that's where, the cadence really feeds off of this, and why I think after that initial package, the way you're setting up your continuity should all be based off of cadence. So what do I mean by that? Say somebody comes in, they buy 10 sessions from you in that initial package. Once they're done with that 10 sessions, what you should be doing is you should be selling people into continuity based on the frequency that they're going to come in on a month-to-month basis moving forward. So they came in for that 10 pack of sessions. Let's say they're coming in once a week for the 10 to 12 weeks of that initial package. When you go to sell them continuity, the 3 options that you're going to want them to be able to choose from moving forward is going to be continuing on that once a week cadence. They can come in twice a month, or they can come in one time a month from there. So the way that you want to sell this and the way that you want to start to pre-frame it for people is, hey, listen, you are coming in for your 10 sessions. You're coming in once a week. That was a great cadence. You're obviously feeling awesome right now. I know we have X, Y, and Z goal that we want to work towards in the next couple of months. I think if you stay on top of your home exercise plans and all the True Coach workouts that I'm sending over to you, I don't think you need to continue coming in once a month, but I think you should be coming in on a twice a month basis instead. And that's what I want to do for you for the next 3+ months. And then we can continue to see how things are going from there. What this does, right, is it gives them a really clear plan of care and a really clear action on what they're going to be getting. It's not super ambiguous of I'm just buying another 10 sessions. I don't really know if I need 10 sessions, but, framing it as, oh, yes, I do need twice a month. That is something that people can actually visualize, and they can put themselves in that position of, yeah, you know what, I do want to continue coming in twice a month. That sounds awesome. So that's where that frequency comes into play. And, the way that we did it, and what I teach most clinic owners to do as well, is this isn't like a membership model. I think that creates a lot of friction for people when they're purchasing, because maybe they're traveling, maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's the holidays, school vacation, whatever it might be. And if they're paying for 2 sessions and they know next month that, it's going to be a crazy busy month, that's going to create a little bit too much friction for people, and they're not going to want to move forward in that actual membership model. It's not like a gym membership or a TV subscription or anything like that. So what you want to do is people are basically committing to another 3 months worth of care with you. So if they come in and say they're going to move forward, they're going to continue working with you once a week moving forward. They got some big goals in the next 3 to 6 months. So essentially what they're doing is they're buying 4 sessions a month for the next 3 months. That's going to be 12 sessions. They're basically buying 12 more sessions, another 12 pack of sessions, but we're just framing it as you're coming in once a month and you're purchasing 4 sessions a month on a monthly basis from there. So they would get charged 4 sessions a month on an ongoing basis. And that was their quote unquote membership that they were getting with us. And that was the continuity plan. Same thing with the 2 times a month. What they were doing is they were purchasing 2 sessions a month for the next 3 months. So that's essentially 6 sessions. And then for the once a month people, they were getting the same thing. They were just purchasing 3 sessions over that 3-month period. And we charged these, same thing we did like on our initial package. All of these hit on the first of each month. So that started to compound on our recurring revenue that we were generating. And, the way that we did this and the way that we got around our membership model is that if somebody had an excess of 4 sessions, so say, the staff PT that they were working with was out, say they went on vacation, say the holidays came around, whatever it might be. If they have 4 sessions, when we go to charge them for their next payment on the first of the month, we would pause that payment, and then we would, try to get them back in the door. So this is like a really good follow-up flag for us if somebody had an excess of 4 continuity sessions, and then we wouldn't charge them again until they went underneath that 4-session mark there. So it was just really nice. It was a really good thing to do for the patient, which at the end of the day is really what we're trying to do, right? Is we're trying to do right by our patients. It was also a good follow-up tool for us, and it allowed for us to, charge those people on a monthly basis from there. I think the other big thing to think about when you're selling continuity and the way we did it and the way we see this work really, really well is you're basically downselling the price points from your initial package to these continuity rates. So what I mean by that is all of our continuity rates are actually a fair amount cheaper than what our initial package rates are. So let's say a 10-pack of sessions is $200. If somebody comes in and let me give you an example. What most people are buying is 15 packs right now. So a 15-pack of sessions is about $1,000 a month. You're purchasing 5 sessions a month with that package. So you're coming in at a once a week cadence once you get to the end of your 3-month plan of care. That $1,000 a month, if they wanted to continue working with us in the once a week fashion with our continuity, that $1,000 a month would then go down to about $700 a month because our session rates went from about $200 a session to $189-ish a session. So in their eyes, what they're doing is they're now saving $300 a month to continue to work with you at the same exact cadence that they were beforehand. That makes selling this thing really, really easy. And, you don't have any cost to acquire these patients either, right? They're already in the door. You've already fulfilled. You've already, ideally given them an awesome experience. We should celebrate that and provide them with a little bit of loyalty by having their ongoing sessions if they stick around at our continuity rates. Sure, price per session is going to go down a little bit, but again, you have no cost to acquire, and the predictability of being able to fill your staff PT's schedules with these continuity people, that is invaluable. This is how you build a business right here. We had a couple PTs at Ripple where, she only needed like 2 or 3 evaluations a month, if that, and it was really just to continue having a couple of evals because their whole schedule was full with continuity people. And that's what you want at the end of the day. And that's how, if you want to get to 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 staff PTs, you need to have a really, really good continuity program in place, because what you can't bank on is just increasing the number of evaluations that you're getting every single month. Because if you're not doing a good job on continuity, that means you need way more evaluations coming in as your staff grows. But what you want as your staff grows is their continuity caseload goes up and the number of evals that they actually need goes down. Selling this is obviously a really big part of being successful with continuity, right? And yeah, sure, it's another sale. It's another thing that you got to train your staff on how to actually sell. And there's really 2 things that are key with selling continuity. I think the first one that we see just extremely successful inside of Patch is what I call a 12-week progress note. And really what this is when somebody gets to the 10 to 12-week mark in their first plan of care, so they're just about done with their initial package. They should be, at least. And what we do, and what we have inside of our Patch system that we create for all of our clinics, is a task will get created, and that task will basically say, hey, Joe Schmo has been it's been 10 weeks since they purchased the package. Send them over their progress note, and this will remind the staff PT to follow up with their patient to send this note over. And basically what this is it's an email that you send over where you're describing where the patient was at when they first came in. So hey, do you remember when he came in, your hip was killing you, you could barely walk 5, and how awesome was it this week you were able to hit your first 10-mile running week, you're on the road back to really where you want to be, you're pain free right now. So you're describing where they were and where they're at now and how we achieved that first goal. And then the second part of this progress email that you're sending out is basically outlining hey, here's what we've been talking about in our sessions. This is what the goals are going to be for the next 3 months. Here's the plan I'm putting in place in order to help you hit that goal 3 months from now. So you're really you're pre-framing what these next 3 months look like. The patient gets that email. It's a personal email, clearly. And, they start thinking, wow, Jeremy is thinking about me 3 months from now. This is awesome. I know my initial package is about to be up, but it sounds like there's more to do. I'm totally bought in. I'm actually really excited to continue working with them. That one email takes 2 minutes to put together. That can be enough to plant the seed to get somebody to actually, commit and move forward with continuity when the time is right. The second part, and I kind of, hinted at this a little bit because we utilize a CRM to notify people about the 12-week progress note and that task there. It's got to be using a CRM. The reason, using a CRM is key with selling continuity is because what a CRM can do for all new patients that come in, we can enroll them in an email drip that is timed out. And if it's timed out, we can say like, all right, so-and-so became a patient 10 weeks ago, let's send them these emails that start to pre-frame what continuity is. And again, like we have to assume that our patients, even though they're in there, they're working with us, they have no idea what cash-based physical therapy is or what it looks like working with you on an ongoing basis. So we need to educate them. And much like the education email drip that we send out before somebody comes in for their evaluation, that describes the difference between in and out of network and why people have to pay out of pocket, this nurture email sequence will talk about what it looks like working with a physical therapist on an ongoing basis. And depending, if you're a performance-based clinic or if you're a little bit more on the manual therapy side of things, what you need to do is you need to take your specifics and you need to outline those specifics and really lean into like, here's what we do in order to help you on an ongoing basis. Maybe it's strength training and we're going to get into the gym. We're going to do a little bit more there. Maybe it's dry needling and manual therapy, whatever it might be. You need to educate people on, here's why you want to continue working with us moving forward. One of the most successful emails that we send out, the subject line is something along the lines of, don't worry, we're not kicking you out. And that gets like, basically 100% open rate. And what that email does is it goes out again at that 10 to 12 week mark. And it basically says like, hey, don't worry, we're not kicking you out. I know your package is just about up. You maybe have a couple sessions left. You're about 3 months into working with us. So we have these continuity options. We expect to continue working with you on an ongoing basis. Just so you know, here's what our price points look like. It's a little bit cheaper than what you're currently paying, et cetera, et cetera. So again, just like we do at the beginning of our sales process when somebody's coming in and we send them our package sheet with the initial rates, we're doing the same exact thing for this next sale. And, sending this 12-week progress note, utilizing this email drip, this nurture email sequence, what we're trying to do here is just make the staff PT's job as easy as possible to sell people into continuity. So these things are super, super important. And if you want to take your continuity conversion rate percentage from 10 to 15% to 30 to 40%. These things need to be done. This is how you have to do these things in order to be really successful with this. And if you want, in the package sales training that I put together, there's an email template on that 12-week progress note. So you can head over to the show notes, grab the link there, and you can grab that email template. Just starting there, you can even track this manually offline if you don't want to dive into a CRM right now. But this is something that you need to be making sure you're doing. And then as you grow and as you bring on more staff members, the number one thing you have to do is to get your staff to commit to this. Because again, the higher your conversion rate on continuity, what that means is they need less evaluations on their actual schedule. And if you want to grow and if you want to have predictable schedules, then relying on less evaluations is obviously going to be easier to scale than needing 20, 30 evaluations every single month just to keep people fed. That helps with the predictability, helps with the seasonality as well, right? Of like December, if you're banking on, hey man, I need 40 evaluations this month in order to just hit my numbers, it's not going to happen. So that's where committing to this continuity and making sure that people are spending as much money as possible with you, so increasing their LTV, and they're coming in as frequent as possible as well. These are two key factors to running a successful business and keeping your staff PT schedules nice and full. For a lot of physical therapists, I think this is a really hard subject, conversation, thought process for them. I think for a lot of PTs, and I'm different, right? Like I'm not a physical therapist, so I never came from this world. So as I started talking to more and more PTs and hiring my staff members, this start to come to light for me is that like the idea for a physical therapist is to make themselves useless, not needed anymore, empower their patients to not need them and not be reliant on them, which I totally get. It's very honorable. It's an awesome way to think. And I had to have these conversations with my staff way back when, because they were super hesitant on this continuity model and building this like reliance for their patients on them to continue coming in. But once they really like leaned into this model and it took shape, they leaned in and they absolutely crushed it. And even to this day, I know Ripple does a really, really good job with this. And basically, like the conversation I had with them was, listen, you're a doctor of physical therapy. Do you not think that an hour with you is worth $200 for somebody that knows nothing about health and wellness, even if they're out of pain, even if, quote unquote, your job is done? Spending an hour with you is always going to be worth $200. Just talking about sleep and nutrition and getting some manual therapy or dry needling or getting into the gym. Health and wellness is the most important thing for everybody on the planet. I don't think that there's anybody better to talk about health and wellness and movement than a physical therapist. That's why having these ongoing check-ins, even if somebody's not in pain, is super important. And there's nobody better in the world than a physical therapist to actually do these things. And that's a conversation I had with my staff and where they started to really buy in, and what I talk with a lot of clinic owners inside of Patch about. So, I think that's something that really you need to think about. And, again, if you want more information on how to sell packages and continuity and how to set up your charging and how to pre-frame the evaluation to get more people to show up for evaluation, then head over to the description, the link in the description to grab the package sales training. You can also head on over to YouTube. All of the videos from the package sale training are going to live there. If you do want the templates, you'll have to download it. And at the end of the day, committing to getting your clinic to 30% continuity at the very bare minimum threshold is going to change the business financial metrics for your clinic. 30% continuity. Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the pod.